Welcome to Alderton Spa. Hello and welcome back to another McMetro video. I've finally arrived with a video of the new layout, Alderton Spa. It's been nearly a year since I dismantled Types Junction, the old loft layout, and today I'm going to walk you through the new layout and everything else that's gone on. Enjoy! When the new track arrived for the new layout, I knew it was time to get to work. I began by dismantling the old layout and then sorting the old set track into piles, as I would later use a lot of the straights and curves for the sections of the layout that would be hidden around the back. It was now time to start light laying and seeing how the new track plan would go together. I really wanted a 4-track mainline, however I was unsure on the space for the curves, and I really wanted all of them to be at least third radius, so I initially laid down a 3-track mainline with scope for a 4th. Obviously the new layout was being built on the same boards. I considered removing the old grass and gravel mats from years previously. However, there was really no point, as it would all be covered up in the long term, and it would be a pain to take them up due to the way they were glued. I then started to lay the track on the foam underlay I had chosen, one made by Woodland Scenics. It was then decided to extend the layout's width, securing the creation of the 4th main line and giving more space to the bay platforms. Now, I decided to solder every single piece of track to make sure running quality was good in the long term, making sure trains got power across the layout. Working with Electro Frog points also gave me the added task of making them ready to have their frog polarities changed by point motors. By this point, I'd already started messing around with super elevation around the main curve and some of Akira Scale's fantastic Rory buffer stops. By this point, the track laying was looking finished, with the new Code 75 concrete along the front and the old Code 100 set track along the back, with joiners between the two sections. I'd even made a paper template of where the new platforms would sit with the station's bridge mouth. The idea with the bridge is that it will give the illusion the platform continues around the back, making it seem big enough for the longest trains. This was until I started to realise I was having problems in the main pointwork core section due to the foam underlay, which gave a bit of an uneven surface for the amount of pointwork. I decided to slowly change the section over to cork to give it a flat surface, which did help a lot. Whilst I had some cork left, I decided to swap the branch lines and the bay platforms over too, with me also deciding to curve the bays to allow them to follow the curve of the main lines a bit more, which I think looks tons better than the straight lines. And this is where we are today. Nearly a full year after taking up the old layout, the track work is complete and I'm really happy with how it is looking. Also, during construction, I had a large LED light installed above the layout, so the layout could be seen a lot better and to help improve video quality. I'll now explain the whole track plan and layout a bit more with this diagram. We start in the station area on the left with the 2 bay platforms and the 4-track main line. The branch line platforms are long enough for a 3-coach train, ready for any future class 166. The main lines have an exponential curve which gets tighter the further back it goes, giving a forced perspective which looks realistic in the space I have. This curve then goes into the bridge portal at the top of the track, which gives the forced perspective of long platforms to suit the longest trains. The 4-track mainline is imagined as a section of loop line. This will be explained further in a moment. This means non-stop trains travel on the centre up and down lines and the slower stopping trains travel on the outer up and down lines. This means only platforms exist on the outer lines, like many other original Great Western Railway stations. Going across you can see the core pointwork section in the centre. This isn't as realistic as the real railway, as you wouldn't tend to see all this busy pointwork routing between all lines on a through route. Double slips were frequently used throughout, as they are a lot smaller than the 2 points they fill in for, helping with my space constraints. The double track branch line has the pointwork required to route trains into either bay from the up and either bay to the down.
I also future-proofed the layout with a single point leaving the branch line, ready for a future side extension to the layout. You'll have to wait for a future video to see where the line will be going. Moving on to the non-scenic section of the track work, on the left hand side the main lines enter a tunnel with a separate tunnel for the branch lines. This hides the tight curve around the back.
The branch line is imagined as a full double track railway, so the fiddle yard points are also hidden in the tunnel. The branch lines converge as they enter the tunnel and quickly fork out again to form a small 2-track fiddle yard. These are curve points and these suit the space much better than a double slip in this scenario. Along the back, the 4 main lines just carry on around. Unfortunately there wasn't much room and I can't reach this part of the layout easily, especially when the backboards go up, so I was unable to have a fiddle yard along the back. This means I have to set up each train when I want to do some running. For me, I don't feel this is too much of an issue. We've now completed a full loop of the layout. Also, here's a couple photos of what I imagine the backboards to look like. They were only thrown together quickly in Photoshop, but they give a rough idea of what I'm aiming for. I'll now give you a bit of background about the layout. Alderton Spa is a fictional station on the South Wales main line between Wootton Bassett Junction, west of Swindon, and Bristol Parkway. Historically, the line was called the Badminton Line and was completed by the Great Western Railway in 1903. It originally had 7 intermediate stations, 4 of which had loops to allow faster trains to pass, like the photo on screen now of Badminton Station. Unfortunately, all of these stations closed by 1968. In 1972, at the western end of the line, however, Bristol Parkway was constructed and still thrives till this day. So the fictional story goes, unlike the other 7 stations, Alderton Spa survived the original cuts, seeing Paddington to Wales services stop on the loops or go straight through non-stop. As I imagine the loops to be about a mile or so long at this station, to reduce bottlenecks, you can easily see 2 trains travelling along the up main and up loop at the same time. And because of this, it was easiest just to make all 4 lines continuous loops on the layout, opposed to having them converge and fork out again around the back. In real life, the section of line I am modelling tends to only see Great Western Railway Express passenger workings and freight. However, as I also have the fictional branch line, I've decided occasional 158s and so may be seen on the main lines and obviously the branch. The layout is also planned to be set around 2017-2018, a time when Class 800s were in service alongside HSTs and before the line was electrified. I decided against overhead wires on the layout, as I usually find them quite messy and a bit of a pain to get perfect. Finally, for the layout name, I wanted something that would sound quite good. Like with any layout, I wanted to step away from layout names such as Junction and Parkway, as I feel these are quite overused. As one of my favourite stations is Bath Spa, I thought having my layout set in a spa town would be a nice idea. I then hopped onto Google Earth and looked for small town and village names along the South Wales main line, where the layout is set to take inspiration from. Then I found it. Alderton Spa was born. The layout isn't necessarily set in the village, rather takes its name from it, so it could be anywhere along the line. Also, in a future video I plan to do a bit of fictional history about the branch line, so keep a watch out for that. You join me in front of some of the new stock which has recently joined the layout. We have a Hornby Class 800, a Bachmann Class 66 and a Dapple Class 73. Let's go take a quick look. This is a model of GWR Class 800 003. Queen Elizabeth II and Queen Victoria. This is the set which comes as separate coaches and driving ends packs, opposed to Hornby's Class 800 004, Isambard Kingdom Brunel and Sir Daniel Gooch, which comes as one 5-car pack. I chose 003 over this one, as the early release of Hornby's Class 800s are known to have issues with the bogey movement. My model is currently fitted with 2 Hornby standard 8-pin decoders, one in each end, although I am interested in fitting sound in the long term. This model runs quite well in a very similar fashion to the Hornby Pendolino. Next up we have Bachmann's Class 66 117 in DB Red, although I don't plan to keep the same number and livery for long. I currently have transfers aside to apply to this loco, so you'll have to stick around for a future video to see what it will become. I went for Bachmann's model over Hattons' more detailed version after hearing many horror stories from many modelers, and I also couldn't find a suitable Hattons version for my re-liverying I have planned. I've also 3D printed Bernie Sanders with mittens and have placed him inside the second man's position in one of the cabs, after this pose became a bit of a meme last year. Currently the 66 is rocking a standard Bachmann 21-pin decoder, and once again I would like to get sound for this model in the future.
Maybe a Lego Man Biffo or a Jamie Goodman file. Finally, we have Dapple Class 73, 73101, the Royal Annex in Regal Pullman livery. Now I am trying to stick to my region and era as much as possible, with a fleet of modern mainline western locos and units. However, 73101 is my all-time favourite locomotive. I saw it many times when I was younger, which led to my love for it. My plan is to have it haul rail tours or act as an ETS on the back of a steam tour, as Class 73s were never the strongest locomotives on their diesel engines. I also have the older Hornby version of the loco, however I felt this more detailed Dapple version with lights was worth purchasing. The Dapple version has got a lot of bad press due to a few issues. One that plagues me occasionally is the tilt of the bogies, causing derailments. Fortunately, with the new layout and that my example has now been fitted with a stay alive, it can perform pretty well with little stop-start motion. I sent my model off to be sound fitted by Roads and Rails, so rocks a Lego Man Biffo sound file on a Lock Sound 5 decoder with a double iPhone speaker. Also, the cab lights have been wired to be operated by the function keys, along with a stay alive fitted. A Hardy's Hobbies painted driver is also inside the loco. Now here's a sound demo for you. Well anyway, thank you for joining me to watch the first episode of the new layout, Alderton Spa. I really do hope to see you in the next one. I plan to give you a behind the scenes look at the wiring for the layout, along with starting on a 3D printed control board. There will of course be some running and maybe even some new rolling stock. See ya!